back to Legal Operations One-on-One series. Today I have with me David Perla. Hi, David. Welcome.
Hi, Rachana. Great to be here. Great to see you.
Awesome. David and I are talking about a very interesting topic, which I know very little of. So I'm just going to kind of let David lead. But we are going to talk about litigation funding. And I don't know how that really works. David, why don't we start with the what and how of litigation funding?
Easiest way to think about it is to look from either the client's perspective or the law firm's perspective and think about what types of problems the lawyers have. We think about those problems in two ways. There are money out problems and money in problems. So money out problems apply to both companies and law firms. There are the fees and expenses of pursuing meritorious litigation. The company has been wronged, it wants to enforce its rights, and it wants to collect money that is owed to it, either in a litigation or in an existing judgment. For law firms, the law firm may have taken a case on contingency or on an alternative fee basis, on a fixed fee basis, discount and uplift, something other than a pure hourly billing, so that the law firm has put its own capital at risk. Companies also have what we call money in problems. So very often they have a claim that's advanced. They know they're going to win, but they need that money sooner rather than later. It's a claim that it's advanced. It's going to take yet more time because of litigation or arbitration dynamics, but the company wants to monetize that claim today. So what do? In the case of money out problems, we can fund the fees and expenses on a non-recourse basis, meaning we don't get our money back. We don't get any entitlement or return unless and until the case wins. In the case of money in problems, we can either monetize some of a claim or some or all of a judgment, or we can fund the enforcement or asset recovery of a judgment using our capital. And again, we don't make our money back. We don't make any return until either the claim wins, the arbitration wins, the judgment or award pays, or we collect. And then we make our money and our entitlement from that award or judgment.
And David, because I'm in-house and I'm a little biased towards GCs, I want to understand, how can GCs use this to their advantage? Does it help them internally to change their image? Because legal departments do suffer from a cost center image. So does litigation funding actually help that?
Sure, and the answer is, of course, it does. What we do is we come in and we say, listen, there's an opportunity here to either share that risk, to entirely shift that risk, or what we call offload that risk, or even to monetize that risk. So a legal finance provider can take a piece of the risk, can take all of the risk, or can even take all of the risk and even put money in the hands of the corporation, turning you from the proverbial cost center over to a risk manager, over to a working capital provider. So let me maybe explain it, having sat in your shoes. Okay? For a GC, for a head of legal ops, there's very little reward for winning a case, even when the corporation's been wrong. So the corporation's been harmed. If you litigate that case and you lose, there's actually a lot of risk to that. What are the risks? There's money spent, there's distraction, there's political capital that you've spent in arguing to litigate the case, and there's internal reputational costs. If you win that case, you don't actually become a hero for winning it, because all you've done is enforce the rights. You've done what lawyers are expected to do. But if you lose, you stand to lose a lot as an internal person. So even when there's a desire to fight, those costs are long-term. Those are hard for companies to deal with. And they're spread out over a quarterly or annual reporting cycle. Whereas if you were to settle it, you'd get rid of it quickly. So legal capital lets you fight that case, lets you ultimately see it through to conclusion. but it takes out all those costs.
Tell me some of the use cases. What's the best type of litigation that could possibly be eligible for this?
There are a few characteristics. The first is high damages, what in the business is called quantum. How much is being argued or litigated or arbitrated over? It usually has to be in the many millions of dollars, because the cost of underwriting it, the cost of a provider looking at the case, pricing it, determining whether the merits are good, those costs are high, and so there has to be a lot at stake. There also has to be what's called a reasonable ratio between the damages and the expenses, and you'll often hear capital providers like us say there needs to be a 10-to-1 ratio. Second, in order for a legal department to care about it, it's usually somewhat longer in duration. If it's the kind of thing you can settle with a letter or a quick suit and it settles very, very quickly, it's again not worth the expense, and it's not worth giving up the upside for you as an in-house manager or for your general counsel to give up upside to us. When you look at those characteristics, certain types of claims lend themselves more than others. So things like whether they're single case or portfolio, contract disputes and business torts, things like fraud, competition and antitrust, so lots of things around price fixing and conspiracy. Patent, very expensive, very complicated, very long in duration, so patent's a classic. International arbitration, so securities litigation, things that in the US, people opt out of class actions. In Europe and elsewhere, they build books around group actions. And then finally, in today's environment, insolvency and bankruptcy, where a company's in distress, but it has real claims, particularly fraud claims against either the officers and directors or someone, or third parties involved with a bankrupt estate. Trustees will often come to us to fund those litigations and those claims.
Great. I always learn so much from you, David. This has been super insightful. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. Great doing it.
Thanks everyone for watching.